the real Kyper and Bourne show. The Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, Derek Brandeo, Jen Rolnick with you for the next 2 hours. Sportsnet 590, Sportsnet 360, Sportsnet Plus, wherever you're following us, we're glad you are along for the ride. And when you can't catch us live, go to a podcast and download us wherever you get your pods. And as always, little text here and there, 590. Comments, opinions. Don't like Sammy's hair.
What?
It's looking really good.
I just wanted to see if you were paying attention.
I'm paying attention.
All right. Your hair's okay.
I was reading about a lovely lunch my parents are having in Spain.
In Spain.
Yeah.
Spain.
Where in Spain?
Yeah, Termalinos in Spain. They go away they're retired. They go for 3 months in the winter.
Jeez.
So they do what you should do, Kyper.
Yeah. What are you doing here with us? Have you ever stopped to think about that?
I'm looking out the window. I'm like, but why aren't you at Riviera?
I
Right
know.
now?
The weather sucks
Terrible.
right now.
This
Terrible.
winter's been the worst. Just kidding.
Is that a good sign for me and you that our producer, like 10 seconds in the show, is checking on his parents in Spain?
Well, I was
What'd you get for lunch?
I was looking at my phone right before we started, and then you were making fun of my hair, and then I looked up, and here we are.
Here we
And
are.
here we are. And here we are tonight. The Philadelphia Flyers facing against the Toronto Maple Leafs. And this is the first of 3 meetings against the Flyers. They have not played since last year.
Is that
Isn't
right?
that weird?
That is weird.
We're already like
I guess it's got to happen with
only
something.
30 games left, and they're going to play them 3 more times starting tonight.
I think they got the Coyotes 3 more times, too. They got
Some
weird teams coming up.
some awesome history between these teams. The Flyers were maybe my most hated team of my youth, up there with the Sens. A lot of heartbreak to the Flyers, specifically Jeremy
Was it
Roenick.
Tucker on Kapanen is hit.
Yeah, like there's been battles between these two teams.
I'm older, so I'm going back to being 7, 8 years old and watching the Leafs and the Flyers, the Broad Street Bullies, the Bobby Clarks, the Bill Barbers,
Good games.
Don Selesky. They got charged for going into the stands or throwing a glove and hitting an usherette at Maple Leaf Gardens.
Your tire iron.
Oh, yeah. It was Cuckooville back then.
They saw what Riley did to Greg, those guys, and they went, what's the problem?
They're like suspension.
I don't see the issue.
Not sure we're going to get that out of the Flyers tonight, but we'll get a Tortorella ready team.
I think I've watched enough of the Flyers this year, and there's been a team that I've caught enough that there's just something about that jersey and that logo and that building and that fan base. You need to have a certain type of player, a certain type of like energy about you for them to kind of respond, like the fan base. And
Sure.
it feels like this team kind of
Listen,
has it.
I-
Like, that
He's got
yeah.
it. Hathaway's
Yeah.
got it.
I-
Laurier when he's in.
I signed my first professional contract with them on an invitation to at a junior hockey, and I went there like a little boy, and I came back feeling like I was a Flyer,
Yeah.
and it was like no going back.
Yeah.
Like I spent 3 weeks there, and when you've got Bobby Clark, Bill Barber, Bernie Perrant walking the buildings or the practice facility in Cherry Hill, and you get to kind of hang out there, and it's like everything was about what being a Flyer is all about,
Right.
and it was that moxie, that
But you never actually
This
played.
is-
Did you
we'll-
never
we'll
actually
beat
play?
you.
He's held on to that.
we'll beat you every which way,
Yeah.
right? We're going to beat you in the alley, or we're going to beat you on the scoreboard, but we're coming for you.
But you never actually played for them, Kip.
No.
What
no.
happened again?
I got claimed the year I was supposed to start with them. I got claimed off waivers by
'Cause
the
you
Washington Capitals.
Went to camp 4 times, right?
Yeah, but I also had the technicality was that I was eligible because of 10 games that I played with the Hershey Bears that I think the Flyers weren't sure it counted or not. But regardless, even if I mean, you listen to Bobby Clark, and I had brought it up once or twice, and I think maybe he claims that he may have known back then. I'm not sure. I know he forgot Claude Giroux's name when he drafted him.
Yeah, happens. No, it's great, and I'm lots of reasons that this Flyer team is super relevant right now. They're hanging on to a playoff spot, but probably don't see themselves that way. They may be trading some big guys. We got comments from Torts on the state of his team and what he thinks they are. They had the Gauthier stuff earlier in the year. Like, there's just a lot going on around this team. So.
Okay, let's start with Sheldon Keefe of the Toronto Maple Leafs on what he sees tonight from the Philadelphia Flyers.
Well, a lot of the young players have taken big steps. They've just played hard. I think they've played at a playoff level and playoff intensity, playoff mindset from the start of the season, and with that, with some good talent and depth that it serves you well. They don't beat themselves. They make it hard to get to their net, 5-on-5 and penalty kill, and then they are killing teams in transition. Like they're as dangerous as anybody on the rush in the entire league. So we've had some troubles with that here of late. So we've got to clean that up, including the other night against St. Louis. We got away with a bunch that didn't show up. We broke up plays before it got to our net, or the opposition didn't execute. So that's as well as we played the other night. If we don't improve that area of the game here tonight, it's going to be tough.
I can confirm, looking at Sheldon's or at the stats after hearing Sheldon, the Flyers are first in the NHL at creating odd man rushes and second in the NHL at limiting odd man rushes against. So they get a ton going that way and they give up none going this way.
Wow.
Which to me is how you end up where they are in the standings.
That's a recipe
To
for
me,
success.
This just has a good coach, Tortorella, and we can say all we want about his bedside manners, but once you put those aside, this is one hell of a coach.
Yeah. He's getting the most out of what he has here. If you look at this roster, remember Seattle, they said they have like 4 second lines. That's kind of the Flyers. Like their best player, who is it? Konechny? Konechny, probably.
Couturier. I'd still give Couturier.
And are they both outside the top 50 in the NHL?
I don't know where you'd rank them. That's good.
But
good
they're
point.
not,
No.
elite,
they're not
elite guys.
Listen, they don't have superstars. They got very good players, but they don't have a superstar carrying them right now.
Yeah. So being well coached, doing the right things with the puck. Yeah. That actually might be a relevant time. That Tortorella clip, is that?
Well, I mean, he held court this morning. Like, he came here and it feels like
a visiting coach holding court in Toronto.
Yeah.
Is that new?
These guys love coming here. There's nothing they love more. All the people down there just
the guys who like the media do. Maurice and Cooper and Tort.
Wouldn't you love to have Maurice, Cooper, and Tortorella all together at the same time, just having a
sounds like nightmare blunt rotation.
that should be a skills competition at the All-Star, right? Where you just put them on a podium and you each give them a minute.
It's a media skills contest where like Sarah Valley's got to do a question for each of those guys, and we grade the answers.
Oh my God, a media skills comp? That's an excellent idea.
Maurice would eat them alive. Cooper would eat them alive.
The edgier sound bite, you put up a mill.
Wouldn't be a ton of athletes in that
one. No, you're right.
So what?
He talked about a lot of stuff. He had a lot of praise for Sheldon Keefe. He was saying that he's a really good coach. But the clip that I put there it's a great clip. If you guys want to just hear it, we can come off the back of it. It's excellent. So if you want to play that for us, Derek.
It's a different league. It's a different league in. I'm going to be really careful how I say it. I think there is. It's a dumb league. It's changed for coaches too, and we've had to make adjustments because there are so many mistakes made. And I guess the thing with the young athletes is sometimes you have to wait your turn, right? As far as gaining respect and not wanting everything right now, not expecting everything right now, as far as ice time, as far as your contract, whatever it may be. Sometimes it's good just to wait your turn and earn it. I think that's where I think the athletes have changed. They have entourages around them that I think direct them the wrong way. And the hierarchy of a room, the hierarchy of what it is to be a pro, the process you have to go through as a pro, I think's lost a little bit.
Yeah, you won't get an argument out of me.
No, I think the point that guys come in and want to be treated like a Hall of Famer before having accomplished any run of things in the NHL is a more common thread now among young players. particularly that we make stars out of them in junior now, right?
Oh, yeah.
So by the time they get to the league, they're like, you know.
I mean, he's just waxing poetic.
Yeah.
Like he gets the Toronto audience. He's like, let's go, baby. It's time.
In a couple of, or in 20 minutes, we're going to welcome in Daniel Brière, general manager of the Philadelphia Flyers, and we can get into a ton. But is he talking, Tortorella, really about that last incident with the kid that
you
refused
can't
to sign?
not
What was his name
Cutter
again?
Goche. I literally was writing that.
There you go.
as you were
Okay,
saying.
so is that really kind of a backhanded way of discussing that situation with those words?
But I do think it's fair to use that and generalize about guys like him, because I do think that's the case. I think it's fair to say that Trevor Zegras came into the league and expected whatever. What's he done in this league? And he's holding out
and
for...
we throw him on a cover of E224, whatever that video game is. What is that? EA? EA Sports?
Yeah, it's just like NHL 24.
And that is the one of the biggest, most ultimate
honors.
It's an honor.
Ego-driven thing.
Right. But that's the type of thing we're referring to when you say guys come in.
And we
it's like,
gave it to him because he's a trick shot artist, which, to Tortorella's point, is embarrassing.
it is...
Sammy, this is your era, my friend.
This is Kip. This is where
I'm older
people,
than you think, I think.
This is where people hear you saying that and go, you're among the people that, why can't hockey be fun? And, we're trying to have this like entertainment product and
Great.
ESPN wants
Great.
this.
Have your entertainment.
But you're talking about winning.
But that
Play the right way.
But those other kids, they'll win the championships.
I know.
And you will enjoy your Fruit Loops cover box.
Yeah, and
right?
I totally agree.
Yeah, put them on.
he's right.
Put them on a
Kip's right.
cereal box. Put them on EA Sports. Most likes on Instagram. But those kids are winning, and you aren't. Getting the job done.
Yeah, you got a lot of guys who aren't like that. Not everyone is like that, but certainly there are more kids who come in with their own followings before they get here, and that's part of the challenge. Also, I think Torts' point is that we are more accepting of mistakes in the league. It used to be like, all right, you have to wait until you have this all figured out before you can do the fancy stuff. And now you get the chance to play and make mistakes and learn on the job. The NHL didn't used to be a developmental league. It was a learn on, you have to be ready to play. Yeah. Now some guys are like Slavkovsky's finally finding it in year 2 of making mistakes in the league.
To be fair to some of the kids, though, the salary cap has changed the dynamics of that. Right?
We have to lean on them way harder.
Well, once the kids get locked in, or we've overpaid them on potential instead of what they've done in the past, now there's no flexibility to move them in and out of the lineup. Mm-hmm. They are locked in. Therefore, these kids today develop a comfort zone. It's like, hey, buddy, I make $4 million. Where do you think I'm going?
Right. There's also there's a good clip today.
It never doesn't get me, that clip. It gets me every single time. I hate it.
I know.
I hate it.
Which one is this one? Sorry,
Jack Hughes. I'd say we're doing.
Say we're doing okay.
Yeah.
Like someone questioned them in the middle of a heater.
An 8-game heater.
In the middle of a heater, bro.
A little less, unless they get Markstrom, but that's a conversation for later on in the show.
Yeah. But so, to Torts' credit, he's got them playing the right way. They're winning a lot of games. So they won 5 straight games in January. Then they lost 5 straight games to end January. Then they've won 4 straight going in tonight. So it could be 5 straight against the Leafs. So they've been streaky, and I think it would be hard for the man we're going to talk to in 20 minutes to decide what to do with this group.
As far as the Flyers are concerned, they should be getting at least a better Leaf team on paper. It does sound like Marner, Tavares,
Willie.
And Willie, did he practice this morning, Willie?
All of them practiced.
All of them practiced today. So let's get Sheldon Keefe on managing the energy level of some of his sick guys.
Yeah, you always got to be mindful of it. Seems they're doing well. Willie in particular, who obviously played less than 100%, seems to bounce back really well. But yeah, anytime you got guys coming back, same with injuries and stuff. But they haven't missed long. But it's the type of illness they had. It's you're not sleeping well, you're not eating well, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we'll monitor it, kind of take it from there.
So, do these guys have some bad shellfish or something? Like,
I don't know. I just know that I never felt worse than like the first game off illness where your cardio's a bit down. You don't quite have your legs or your lungs. Like, it's just really tough to have that pop. You exist out there, but it's tough to have it.
I mean, after what an incredible showing it was from the Leafs role players on Tuesday night, now he'll play them more, right?
Well, I hope not.
What do you mean?
Well, no, I mean, I hope we don't get a different look. I hope these guys can come back and you can
want
still
the role players to still play.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, 100%. I hope they have a good look as early as the first period where they're just kind of picking up the energy off of the St. Louis game.
Yeah, I would be fine if 88 played 15 minutes tonight and, Mitch played 17 and whatever, that's okay tonight. And Domi and those guys can see if they can do it again. Show us again.
Listen, these guys make $11 million, but there'll always be that part of them that says, well, I don't want the team to look really good without me.
You're so
for
right,
too long.
Yeah.
And that alone could speed up the process of getting better sometimes. Like, I don't care where you are on where you think you are in the pecking order. You're like,
Tavares watches Bertuzzi dish to 8 people and get 9 chances at net front on PP1 goes, I actually feel okay.
yes.
I'm starting to come around.
Yeah. Put me back in, coach.
Vapo rub and I'm ready.
What's the word on Gio?
Well, just listen to this clip and we can talk about it after, okay?
No, it's tied to it. It's not overly comfortable for him to have a skate on right now. He's fine when he has it on, but the on and off and all that kind of stuff doesn't serve him well on the same day in particular. So yeah, he's reluctantly stayed off.
On the same day in particular, is he leaving his skates on from one day to the next?
I don't know.
What happened to his foot?
It hurts to have a skate on.
That seems like an important part of being a hockey player.
Is this, are we going to start hearing about these kind of, without being really detailed, are we going to start hearing about guys with bumps and bruises that could go to IR at any time with a trade coming?
Some mystery bumps and bruises.
I'm just asking.
Perhaps.
Yeah, that maybe.
But you might have seen it with Woll already coming back here. And like, oh, Jonesy, don't know what it is, but boy, he's just not feeling right.
Suddenly he's hurt. Wall coming back. Do you remember an incident with Gio? Did he block a shot? I know he
blocks a lot.
Yeah, he's the league's all-time leader. He was given a golden shin pad last year.
Trophy, a plaque.
You didn't like it, if I recall.
It's a badass trophy. I think it's
golden
amazing.
shin pad?
To be the all-time leader in block shots, regardless of when they started tracking him, it's a great.
It's cool, but you can't
honor.
say regardless of when they started tracking him. You got Craig Ludwig sitting at home going, what? I've blocked 4,000 shots a day.
Could just speak to
You're right.
some bad goalies.
Darian Hatcher.
Maybe if you had better goalies, you wouldn't block so many.
Wouldn't have to get in the way of so many. All right, so Gio's a hard maybe.
Kyper, I want to actually, can we talk about your article you wrote today? Because I thought it was very good.
Well, yeah. I kind of, my weekly article for the Toronto Star went out today, and it was on Morgan and, what he ended up doing to cost himself 5 games. And I also talked about the potential of Morgan being a candidate for the Toronto Maple Leafs moving forward as the next captain. And I only say, I premised that Tavares is in his last year of his deal, and he'll certainly get another chance this spring to lead the Toronto Maple Leafs as the captain. But if it doesn't fare well and he's going into his last year, would it be unheard of that the Leafs would pick a new captain as early as September, knowing he's in his last year of his deal?
Well, I guess what stands out to me is they're only a few years apart in age, right? It's not like you're handing it down to the next generation. He's 33. Morgan's going to be 30 in a month or less than. So
That's a big 3 years, though.
it is. And in terms of where they're at and their playing quality and all that, that matters too. You did mention in your article something that I've said for years, that it seems like inevitably MLSE and the Leafs will want to sell a 34 with a C on it. Like that's inevitable.
Yeah.
That they want that to happen. So, but if he's not the right guy for the team, maybe Riley is. I just think it's hard to see them take it off Tavares' sweater for Riley. Matthews I can see because he is the face of the team.
Yeah, I did mention that I don't think Austin's emotionally there to wear the C yet.
So, I agree. But I don't think that's stopped.
So you're just thinking about selling jerseys.
No. I'm thinking about where they see him, the commitment they make to him, the fans seeing.
So even though we don't think you're perfect,
yeah.
we've boxed ourselves into just building you up to be this guy, and there's no turning back.
Yeah, I mean, you look at 20-year-olds who are handed the C in the NHL. They're probably not the best leaders on their team, but teams say, you're our guy. We go as you go.
Yeah.
It should be Morgan.
Huh?
It should be Morgan.
It should have been Morgan when they gave it to JT.
Yeah.
In retrospect, at the time, I don't remember having that opinion, but...
No, that wasn't ever really talked about. And you mentioned that as well, that when it happened, it was really between Matthews and Tavares, and we all know what happened with Matthews. And towards the
himself.
Yeah, towards the end of that summer, and that conversation kind of went away, and then they gave it to Tavares. But I do feel kind of bad that during that time, it wasn't really more of a consideration for Riley.
Yes.
Because I think he's always been a heart and soul guy. Like he really is.
He's always been the voice of reason for them.
If
he's
the
the best
Leafs,
in the media, he talks the most. Like
if after next year the Leafs move off of JT and it's wide open, this is the guy that's most ready to wear the C.
And he's also under contract for 5 more years, whatever, just like Matthews is.
Yeah.
Like he's going to be here. He's cheap. I mean, he's the right guy. He's the dad to me, the adult in the room.
Mm.
I don't yet see Matthews that way. I think he can be, and I actually think he's gotten a lot better in the media. He's thoughtful. He's not defensive at all. Like, he's pretty open. He's good. Mm-hmm. But I do think that Riley still feels like the guy that we're like, okay, how does the team really feel? Let's talk to Morgan. The All or Nothing series, he was in it like 0 times. And it was like, yeah, because he didn't do anything like inflammable, really. Yeah. He's just Morgan.
Yeah, or they just chose not to use it. Right? HBO. Was it HBO? I don't even know what it was. Amazon, HBO, whatever the case is. I'm sure they had a ton of Morgan Riley. They just didn't use it.
Yeah, maybe.
Or the Leafs chose not to use it. I don't know.
Because he's not that exciting, and I mean that in a complimentary way. He's just...
But maybe that's the perfect guy,
yes,
maybe.
In this market, it probably
right?
is.
Not too high, not too low. Just,
But they probably thought that about Tavares, who's just the extreme of that.
But he would never do what Morgan did Saturday night.
God, no.
No.
Right?
And at the same time, you need to have that ability to get outside that emotional range. And in your article did make the point about, when you're leading, finding the emotion of a game that's part of leading.
And that's been a knock against the core four for a long time, is that they'll outskill you and they'll find a way to bury one last puck in the net, but they won't beat you in other ways.
Can you recall a guy getting a 5-game suspension for something and it leading to universal acclaim? Like, not one person is like, that made me think less of him. Like, to a man, all the Leafs fans I've talked to are like, glad it happened.
Yeah.
Even, his coach says it was fitting. His teammates.
Or, it just... something needed to happen, right? You just could not watch another episode where the Leafs eat a crap sandwich and there's no response.
Right.
I saw a clip from Evander Kane talking about it yesterday, too, and he said he thought it was an appropriate response, too.
I saw Braden Shen say the same thing.
It's like, yes.
Guys,
it's almost like it should have been a 5-game suspension, boys.
Right.
Almost like that, but, Leafs tax, baby.
It sounds like there's just too much surrounding it, right?
Yeah.
The league doesn't like
we don't
how
need
much...
to relitigate this.
No, we don't.
We can talk about it again when the appeals go through.
The Philadelphia Flyers will have Sean Couturier as their 20th captain in Flyer history, wear the C for the first time against the Leafs.
Yeah. Claude Giroux was their last captain in 21-22, so it's been a couple years since they named a captain. Couturier, two-way, Selke guy, 30 years old. I mean, he, to me, is a perfect leader. Oh, what's that face?
Oh, no, I'm okay. I like Konechny, too.
Yeah.
Only because
he's a little too young, ratty for me.
Listen, but it's the
like
Flyers.
It's like giving it to Marchand, like
it
5
is.
years
It's
into
like,
his career.
But it's the Flyers, and you've brought Keith Jones back, and he talks about the history and bringing back that pride. He's more that guy for me. To go back a little bit to their history.
Yeah, it is crazy to sit here, and I know Leafs fans are like, don't even say it. But, they traded the Konechny pick for Dermott and Bracco, and it was the idea of outsmarting the draft position. And, at this point in the draft, 2 picks around here are worth more than one. You had 2 lottery tickets. Meanwhile, imagine
how about just take the first-round guy?
Take the guy.
How about take the guy who's like a
point per game flyer with emotion.
Way to go, Kyle.
Go do
Well,
this.
we'll see.
I don't even know was it him? I don't even know was it him.
It was definitely him, yeah.
But Hunter, Lou, they were all there at that time. Was it him?
This was a Kyle one.
Okay. Yeah. Let's go to break.
I can't remember.
Let's go to break.
I don't know what I had for breakfast. All right, let's take a quick break. General Manager of the Philadelphia Flyers, Daniel Brière, will join us, and we'll get into Sean Couturier, his next captain, and plenty more when Real Kyper and Bourne return. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. You are listening to the Real Kyper and Bourne show. The Toronto Maple Leafs are set to take on the Philadelphia Flyers, who are in town tonight at Scotiabank Arena. This will be the first of 3 meetings between both clubs. And let's welcome in General Manager of those Philadelphia Flyers, Daniel Brière. Hey, Danny, thanks for joining us. How are you?
I'm good. How about you guys?
We're good. We're good. Did you travel with the team? Are you in Toronto? Are you home working the phones? Give us the latest, pal.
I'm in town in Toronto. Always a fun time to come to Toronto. I think it's our only visit to the Maple Leafs this year, so I'm on the trip. Wanted to be here for it.
Well, we know that 2 more games, March 14th and March 19th as well. So since you have been there and watched this team progress here, where are you in terms of the process? And, now we're looking at a potential situation where there's a trade deadline, there's a playoff scenario here. Are you ahead of where you thought you'd have this hockey club by now?
Well, first of all, credit goes to our coaching staff and our players for really having the type of season that they're having this year. Probably a little bit ahead of the progress that we thought we would be in. Bringing a couple of veterans back in the lineup that didn't play last year, and Couturier and Atkinson was a big help leadership-wise. But our young guys have really stepped up, and that makes a big difference. But we're trying to stay realistic, and it's finding the fine line between making sure that we also take care of the future while we give our players the chance to move ahead and make a playoff run. But we're certainly excited with the chance and the possibility of playing big games. Experience-wise, it's so good for all our players to be in a playoff spot at this time of the year. The games are getting bigger, more intense. I think it's fabulous. But at the same time, we're keeping an eye on the future, and we have to listen to what's out there. And if there's something that makes too much sense for the future of the Flyers, it's something that we'll have to take care of.
Well, we're certainly keeping a close eye on your team. I know 5-game winning streak, then a 5-game losing streak, 4-game winning streak. We're trying to figure out what you guys got there. One of the players that you have added this year was Jamie Drysdale. It was a highly publicized trade at the time. How has Drysdale acclimated himself so far with the Flyers?
Yeah, he's been great. First of all, he's such a high-character person to start with. He fit right into our group. He wants to win. I think he's excited to be here with this group, it sounds like. But it wasn't easy for him. It's a change. He's only 21 years old. It's a big change at this stage of his career. He probably imagined that he'd be Anaheim Duck for a long, long time and had the chance to grow with that organization. So I'm sure he was a little surprised by the move, but he's adapted well. He hasn't shown that, you know, he's uncomfortable with the pressure that comes from playing in Philadelphia. And, you know, for Jamie, it's not just we're watching him. It's not just for this season. He's going to be here for a long time. We're excited by what he brings, and our goal is to develop him into one of the top defender in the league.
We're talking to Daniel Brière, general manager of the Philadelphia Flyers. Danny, when I signed my first professional contract with the Philadelphia Flyers, it didn't take me long to understand what the C meant on that jersey, led by Bobby Clarke. And now you've got Sean Couturier sporting the C tonight for the first time as your 20th captain in franchise history. Just the process of getting there with Sean. You know, I like that Travis Konechny, like him as an old school type of guy. But how hard was that decision on ultimately settling on Sean?
Hey, it wasn't hard at all. You know, the tough part was for Torts to get to know Sean a little better. You know, Torts came aboard last year. He didn't have him. You know, they crossed paths in the hallways and around the rink, but he never had the chance to coach Sean and never had the chance to be behind the bench in the heat of the action during a game and see how he'd react. So, you know, coming into the season, we felt it was the right thing to do for Torts to get to know Sean a little better. I think everybody around the team, you know, myself and Jonesy and everybody else kind of knew that it was Sean's team. But you know, Torts didn't know him well, and we all agreed that it was the right thing to do, to wait and see when the time would be right to name him captain after Torts got to know him better. And in the last few days, we started discussing that, and Torts agreed that it was time to do it. The team is performing well. Coots had been, you know, one of the leader and really reacted well to adversity this season, and then it was time to do it. And in PK's case and Travis's case, it's you know, you mentioned it. He plays. You know, he gets under your skin. He's what we like to say. He's a typical Flyer. He's always in the mix. He never stops coming after you. He's been, you know, on the ice, probably our best player this year. So, you know, very deservedly so for him as well.
Just one thing on Couturier, because we do know that he signed an 8-year deal, and then after that, if my memory serves correct, Daniel, he had the back issues, or he had surgery. Like, was it touch and go with this guy for a little while there on where he was heading the rest of his career with this injury?
Yes, I mean, there were a time where it got a little scary. You know, at first we thought it'd be, you know, he had to have surgery and he'd be ready to go the next year. And unfortunately, next season he didn't feel better. So he had to go under the knife again. And that's when, you know, you never know where these things are going to go after. But I give him a lot of credit because he spent a lot of time. He wanted to be back on the ice. He took care of himself and really sacrificed a lot of things to make sure that he was in the best condition possible to make a comeback. So really impressed how he handled it, how he handled himself. You know, I've known Sean since he was drafted as an 18-year-old. So I've known him really well over, you know, the course of his career. And, you know, I thought it was time for him to don the C. Very representative of what the Flyers are all about.
Daniel, I wanted to ask you a little bit about John Tortorella and coaching in 2024. He made some comments today or yesterday to Luke Fox from Sportsnet just about the league today and the type of players, you know, that they come into the league, these young guys now, and almost feel like there's maybe a sense of entitlement, and it's harder to wait for these guys to be patient and make them earn it. I want to get your thoughts on that, on the idea that it's tough to get young guys to be patient for their spot, and also just a guy like John Tortorella, who's an old school coach, and how he's done dealing with today's young player.
I'm not going to comment on that.
For the record, he called it a dumb league, so.
He's allowed his opinion. I'm not going to go against it.
Yeah.
He's coached for a long time, and he's done a fabulous job. He's earned the right, to have his opinion. And he's a tremendous coach. What he's done with our team this year, not just this year, even last year, because the rebuild for me started last year with him. He was the first piece that we brought in as our rebuild. He's been amazing with our young guys. And the perception out there that, Torts is just a coach for the veterans, it's so wrong. You look at what he's done this year with our young guys, and you get to appreciate how good of a coach he is and how good he is at developing not just older players, but also the young guys, and giving them a chance to be successful, to be difference makers, to take a large role on the team. He's certainly not afraid to use the young guys. So I've been really happy with what he has provided him and his coaching staff to the Flyers for the last year and a half since he was hired.
Daniel, I got to ask you about the goaltending situation, and I'm not going to rehash anything about 2018 but Carter Hart is no longer there, and if and when he gets back, no one knows. How do you prepare moving forward when it comes to depth in your net?
Yeah, it's certainly not an easy situation to lose a top goaltender. Fortunately for us, we have another guy that stepped up this year in Sam Ersson that's taken a big role. And not just since Carter has left the team, but even before. I mean, he was challenging Carter, until he left, probably the previous month and a half before Carter left. He was challenging him to start, and he earned them. It's not like he was given a free role there. He really earned his starts, and now we understand that it's a lot tougher when you don't have a guy like Carter Hart beside you. But Sam has kept playing just as well as he was, and we hope he keeps developing. But we've been really, really impressed with him. Now Cal Peterson, gives him the chance to come up and play some games and show what he's all about. But the exciting part for us is the pool of prospects that are coming. They might not be ready this season or next season, but we have a lot of good young goaltender coming up behind them that hopefully will hit and we'll be able to provide some help down the road.
Looking at your roster, there's just a number of players who have had seasons that I would say met or exceeded expectations. One of them for me is Travis Sanheim. He's been on the ice more than any other player for you guys this year. He's in the first year of a pretty long-term contract. Tell us about his development and where you think he's at.
Yeah, he's taken a huge step this year. To be honest, we challenged him in the offseason. And I think when, it's not a secret, his name circulated in the rumor mill. I'm sure he didn't like that, but kudos to him. He stepped up his game, and with the departure of Ivan Provorov, he really took it upon himself to be the leader back there on defense. He stepped up from game one, even training camp, I should say. He showed up at camp, in amazing physical condition, and then he just started rolling from that point on. He's been the leader back there, and it's really helped our young defense, our young guys, behind him. He took the lead, and everybody's following along. So we've been really happy with Travis Sanheim this season.
Hey, take me back a little bit here. Did you take heat for trading for Owen Tippett? Because I think it's turned out.
It's working out okay.
I think it's worked out okay, and of course, very popular in Claude Giroux getting traded to Florida. But if I recall, everybody was going, okay, like Owen Tippett, please, we could have done so much better. And here he is on the front line, earned himself a nice $50 million contract. Talk about Tippett's rise to stardom a little bit here.
Yeah, he's been simply amazing. It's been exciting to watch him develop, last season and in this season. It was Chuck Fletcher's deal, to be honest. A lot of people were involved in that, but, I really commend Chuck for holding his ground there. We did a lot of work as far who would be coming our way, but, Chuck did tremendous deal. And, Owen is developed. He's getting better and better. Torts keeps saying that he has 3 or 4 more years left to him that he hasn't used yet. So who knows where he can get to, but it's been so exciting to watch him this year take into a leadership role and really a force on the ice with his power, his skating, his shot. It just shows you sometimes you have to be patient with certain players. It's some players it takes a little longer to develop. Owen is one of them, but if you're willing to put the patience in, sometimes it can pay off. It's not always easy to do because we're in a win now league, unfortunately. But it was definitely worth it with Owen Tippett.
All right, last one for me. Just want to get your thoughts on some of the teams in your division or in that wild card hunt, even in the Metro. Behind you guys, the Devils, the Islanders, the Penguins, some pretty good teams nipping at your heels. Is there any of those teams that you guys feel is a real threat?
It's pretty scary when you look at those teams chasing you.
Yeah,
we thought, early in the season, I think everybody thought we'd be chasing them. You have to respect what the Penguins have done with their core players that are still there. They can turn it on at any moment and get on a string. You look at the Devils last year, how good they were. So we know they can certainly turn it on pretty quick. And now the addition of Patrick Roy in Long Island, anything is possible with the Islanders. So it's pretty scary to look behind. So we're trying not to look behind and look forward.
Yeah.
Try to keep winning as many games as we can in the meantime.
Is Brad Treliving still calling you 3 times a day for Nick Seeler and Sean Walker?
I haven't heard from Tree.
We'll give him your number.
Pass it on. No, it's we'll see what happens. There's obviously things are heating up for a lot of teams, and it's going to be interesting to see how it goes coming down the stretch. It's going to be my first rodeo in going through the trade deadline, so it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, you're looking forward to it, I bet. Really appreciate your time doing this, Daniel. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks so much for your time.
Good luck the rest of the year.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Daniel Brière, general manager of the Philadelphia Flyers, and one of the nicer guys you'll meet in our game.
Did he say the Tree hadn't called him at all?
I don't know.
Send him a text, maybe?
How he just kind of threw that out.
They're on WhatsApp.
Hey,
Signal.
You throw something out a little tongue-in-cheek, and you get an answer.
Yeah. Hey, Brad, you got to check in. If you're listening to the show today, give him a call. See what he wants.
Don't tell me Brad's not making any calls. That's all he's been doing, I'm sure, since October?
Yeah, well, I don't know. It didn't sound like he's talked to Danny.
I love Danny Brière as a player. Heart and soul
me too.
Guy.
Big fan.
He always scored some big goals.
Yeah, he's a gamer. Total gamer.
Killed the Leafs. Yeah. I just remember him scoring big
Buffalo.
goals. Oh, yeah. Those stupid slug jerseys. He just lit up the Leafs.
I have this obscure memory of him from when Hall and Seguin were rookies or about to be drafted, and Brière's going through. They were doing a walkthrough before the draft, and Brière's telling him about his sticks. And he says he starts the year using a 75 flex. This was Brière.
Oh, yeah, I remember this.
And because you can't keep muscle on during the season, by the end of the year, he switches to a 65 flex. 65 flex.
65? But even 75 is absurd.
It is.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Short stick, though, right? He's not a
big guy.
So, Nick Seeler.
And he's the reason we have Austin Matthews.
Yeah.
He was Austin Matthews' favorite player when he was playing for Arizona. At the start of his career. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So there you go.
Who's most attractive here for you on the Flyers? Scott Laughlin, we hear as a potential centerman that teams might be interested in. Nick Seeler, who is a good second pair guy for me.
Is he?
Yeah.
I couldn't give you one Seeler take, but I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
To me, but Konechny's a guy I like.
You're not getting Konechny.
Okay.
You're not getting him.
All right.
It's funny because his name just comes up as a potential guy if you're picking a carcass of a team. It's like they're a playoff team. They love him. He's having a great year.
Yeah.
No reason to think he's going anywhere.
Yeah. Well, we'll watch Jamie Drysdale. We heard Daniel, speak very highly of him. For me, he's still in this development stage of his career where he's got some good upside, but still needs, I think, to work on his overall game. I'm not sure how much coaching he's had from the defensive side over the years, but that needs to strengthen up. But I think he's going to have a really solid career.
So,
I think it's hard for guys when really talented players go to kind of uncompetitive teams and they say, we got no one else. You're going to play 21 minutes a night on a team that's losing. Like you go to Anaheim. I don't think it's good for a guy like him. So Philly should help.
Just seen a report from Chris Johnson saying that the in-person here, or the suspension appeal to NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman is scheduled for noon tomorrow in New York. It'll be conducted in person.
Great. And that shouldn't take that long. Like you have the conversation, whatever that 30 minutes, hour, whatever, and Gary should be able to make a decision within a day.
Yeah, it doesn't work that fast, I think.
But like, why can't it, or why shouldn't it?
Well, because
Just get it knocked
none
out.
of the other ones have in the past.
But I agree. But that
But
to
it's
me,
the Leafs, Kipper.
But no.
There's your answer.
No, but the answer is not. But it's the Leafs. Is that the other one should be fast too? You hear the appeal. You're the decision maker. Make the decision.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe it is faster. Like maybe it's a faster
My hot take of the day is that he's going to back it off to 4.
Just go put it down to 2.
I cannot
Set the internet ablaze.
I don't see that for a second because you're gonna have to put up with all the
It
naysayers
shouldn't be 5.
that
Who
say-
cares what team it is and the noise?
Yes.
It should not be a 5-game suspension.
yes, you
It's a
and
dumb league.
a million other Leaf fans feel the same way.
Oh my God, that is such a good drop.
It's a dumb league.
It's a dumb league.
It's a dumb league.
I've often heard best sport, worst league. I've often heard that.
In my article today, I did talk a little bit about the lack of emotion has a lot to do with the game, and the systems are being so analytically driven. It's taken away the spontaneity of the players and the intensity. Like it's almost robotic
Well,
sometimes watching the
yeah.
kids play.
Well, because you're saying instead of go, you're saying no, hold,
what you're
hold
saying is,
here
like,
and
we're,
trap
we're
there.
this far away from drawing arrows for the kids.
Oh, we draw the arrows, and the kids who remember to follow them get to play more.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of how it works.
No, I don't know. It's a part of torts that should say, dumb coaches sometimes too.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think that's fair.
That's
When do we
They
get to
suck
yell?
the emotion out of the game.
what are you going to say, buddy?
When do we get to yell about Fanatics jerseys? Is that
Oh,
later
you
in
want
the
to do
show?
that now? Or
I don't know. See, this is more up your alley because you are a Jersey guy.
I am a Jersey guy.
The
So
problem
what's
is
the problem here?
The problem is that they're taking some heat for the MLB because I think Nike pawn it off on them? Like they designed them, and now Fanatics is making them, and they're taking heat. Like the players are like filing grievances with Nike and
our
like going to
buttons-
players
our
union.
buttons falling
They
off.
hire Costanza, and the jerseys are all made of cotton.
They like Justin Verlander. How many numbers are in? How many?
Only 9 letters in his name.
And it's like Jared Saltalamacchia. It's like a rainbow.
Like the kerning is the fancy
So,
word for the spacing, but
I think
it's gross.
This
But the
is
thing is,
devastating.
Next year, oh
Hey,
my God, it's
Don't
the
you
NHL.
patronize us?
Next year is the NHL, boys. They're taking
the
over the NHL
NHL's
jerseys.
Yeah, and it's gonna be spelled AEFs. They're gonna mess up the spelling on the jersey somehow. The fails.
Well, we just can't leave this conversation hanging here. We're going to have to pick this up in
this
our
up.
natural
Absolutely.
hour of the Real Kipper and Bourne Show. All right.
matter.
Our thanks to Daniel Brière, General Manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, as they get set to go head-to-head tonight at the Scotiabank Arena. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, David Amber, number one host here at Sportsnet.
yeah, you
Anyone
gonna
that's
turn the
coming
keys over to
on-
him or what?
Anyone that's coming on our show is number one.
He's the guy. He's gonna bench press us both on television.
Yes, he is. I hope he's wearing a Guns shirt today, too.
They're all gun shirts to him, pal.
More of Real Kipper and Bourne and David Amber when we return. Welcome into the Real Kipper and Bourne Show. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. We don't even know where Sammy is. I think he's looking for David Amber. We are live on Sportsnet, Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver and Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Real Kipper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Top story, JB. Jarmo Kekäläinen, general manager of the Columbus Blue Jackets, no longer. As he was relieved from his duties, John Davidson takes over as interim general manager while the club searches for a replacement. Should we put on our surprise faces?
Well, if the Blue Jackets won their next 5 straight games, they'd still be in last. So, no. Anytime you're that far down the basement, this is kind of inevitable. He's a GM in his 11th season with the team, so you can't really blame anyone but yourself. And I wouldn't say, the future is immediately bright. So, no, I'm not shocked to see it. And, in fact, they've been enough stories this season that kind of surprised it took this long. So,
well,
dawn of a new day in Columbus.
There were many that were calling for his departure the moment they started backtracking. Well, he started backtracking on the hiring of Mike Babcock.
How do you mean backtracking?
Let's start with, we did our due diligence. Let's start there. You didn't do your due diligence because
didn't do due diligence. That's tough.
It's really tough, but I pulled it off, and I'm not going back.
Sorry.
There are so many stories out there on this guy that you, me, and probably 29, 30 other general managers would not have taken that chance.
Yeah. I do feel like they were trying to do something big, a desperation swing, a sexy name, a more militant type coach. And yeah, that did not pan out, obviously. So yeah, you're on the hook for that when you make that decision. And he was lucky to get through there when they started losing. The writing was on the wall. So now John Davidson is still the president. He's the interim GM. Will help them through this. Presumably will hire someone else in the offseason. It felt like Davidson himself was on the way out by choice. No? Like at some point here, he's got to be in his mid-70s. How old's he?
Well, first of all, it appeared that when he got rehired back to Columbus after leaving the New York Rangers, that he would come in as president of hockey ops, but not be in a position to oversee Jarmo in the hockey department decisions.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So all of this, I believe, is on Jarmo.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if John Davidson got painted by ownership with the same brush, but I'm sure there's some accountability there on John Davidson and be the first guy to admit that. But I think he dodges this one because of the power that Jarmo had in Columbus to make final decisions.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. So, I mean, strange times in Columbus, right? Like you just signed Gaudreau, Patrick Laine going through a hard time. Not sure if you saw some of the backlash there. Some sort of harsh comments were made about him on a local podcast, and now they're raising a lot of money for mental health.
Well, that's a good part.
Yeah, so that's a positive, but they've been in the news way too much this year.
Okay, but what is there like a black cloud over this organization? They've won, if I'm not mistaken, they've won one round in 24 seasons.
I don't know what to tell you there. I mean, that is baffling. Fantilli is hurt right now, so like one of their good things doesn't seem to be able to participate. To me, it's like they need to do the whole thing where they sell Jenner and they sell and they sell and they. I know no one, when you've won one round in 24 years, you don't want to take the long approach, but gosh, it's tough to look at this roster and think any quick fixes available to them.
Well, and they've had top picks. You mentioned Fantilli, and there's no question he will be the face, I think, of this organization as early as next season, if not already now. But how does Johnny Gaudreau go from being one of the more dynamic forwards in the National Hockey League to this?
I mean,
7 goals.
Kip, he's not playing with anyone. You look at their salary cap structure. We're here in Toronto and we cover the Leafs and we know what a ridiculous top-heavy structure they have. The top 4 salaries among their forwards right now with line A out are Gaudreau at 9.7, then Roslovic at 4, Boone Jenner at 3.75, and Sean Couturier at 2.5. Like, that's the top end of their cap-friendly page for who they're paying. So tough to produce with those guys.
They've had top picks, but no one has stepped up. This Kent Johnson came in highly touted.
Yeah.
World Juniors, college kid, face. I mean, he's in and out. He's scratched. He's sent down. I just don't understand why certain players cannot rise
Yeah.
in this organization.
Hey, DA in the house. Look at this guy.
He's wonderful. He's talented. Put your hands together for the lovely David Amber. How's the weather? Did you get caught?
It's the trap. What's wrong with people driving in snow? There's barely any snow on the ground. People. Took me an hour to get here. You know where I live.
Yes, I
Really?
do.
Yeah.
That
Damn.
long.
Anyways.
Well,
sorry
we're
about
glad you're here and safe.
that. Yeah, got here safely.
How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
We're good.
Good to be here.
We're just discussing Yarmo
Yes.
and the end
I
of
was
the
listening.
sort of the Blue Jackets there.
Yeah, and no real surprise, right? For you, you would have thought at this point they would have liked to hold on for 30 more games and do this in the summer, but the sense I got was that ownership was feeling so much heat, like there's a collective fan base now that are starting to push on the ownership, and they don't like that, right? So
There's been a dark cloud there for a while, and you mentioned I was driving in
Yeah.
listening. By the way, Brière, amazing. Hey?
How good
Yeah.
is he?
He's so good.
Thoughtful.
And honestly, the early returns, I know we're getting off topic here, but the early
Well, we'll
returns
get
in
to 'em.
Philadelphia, it's amazing. Like, I
Yeah.
love, I don't know, I just say, a great guy. It's great to see early success for him. On the other side of the ledger, dark cloud, right? Like, he was the third longest tenure GM. He had a pretty long runway. He had over a decade to put this together. The last 3 drafts, they had 5 players taken in the top 12 picks, right? Think about it. 5 like premier blue chip prospects. They probably want to have a bit of a winning culture and a bit of stability there. And I think you want to start that as early as possible. And that might have gone into the thinking. Jeff Merrick brought up something on his show, Kyper, that might be true. Maybe there was something in the works that Kekäläinen was trying to push through. And the owner, is it John McConnell, I believe, owns the team?
I don't know. Doug mentions him every other
Yeah,
day.
McConnell.
McConnell. So,
Mr. McConnell.
Yeah.
And he probably was like,
Yeah.
if this guy's going to be
the son, I think.
running the ship, then why are we letting him make decisions? We see the decisions he's made in the past haven't worked out, to fruition for what we wanted. So it could have been all those things together.
Yeah, well, listen, I think in all honesty, the decision to let him go was made a long time ago. So I think it was to get him without rocking the boat through the trade deadline. But like I said, maybe the pressure got to the family a little bit here. What would you do, David Amber, in terms of finding your next general manager? Would you go to I think John Davidson mentioned that the search starts outside, which means there's nothing internal, which means that we're not going to see Rick Nash end up being the new general manager of the Columbus Blue Jackets. But what does this organization need in your eyes?
We're not famously going to see, remember ML Carr was a basketball executive, and he said, I'm going to do a search high and low to find the best GM, and it spent about a month, and he's like, okay, I've determined
It's
that
me.
person's me. John Davidson, I've looked around, I'm the guy.
I can't find anyone better than me.
And there's been a lot of speculation, JD has been a bit of a rocky tenure at times for him as well. I don't know. That's a great question because there's so many great young minds in the game. I'd love to see, I don't want to say an outsider, but I'd love to see someone else, some new blood get an opportunity. I think, I don't have a name off the top of my head, but there's just so many good, young, up and coming, people in the game, intelligent, maybe who think outside the box a little bit, who would be great to get that opportunity.
Do you think you can sell that, or do you need an NHL guy that's been there for?
But who
for
would that be? I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Coaches, it's easier.
Mark Hunter.
Mark Hunter's a good name, right?
Right. He just keeps winning in London.
I think that's a
But
great
that's
name.
still an outside the box name only because it's not a guy who has 20
Yeah.
years of NHL GMing experience under his belt.
But it's funny because I think there's this desire sometimes to sell to your fans. We have this young analytics guy. He does numbers. And obviously, Dubas had some of that. John Chayka was that in Arizona. And it's not that easy.
No.
There is, as a GM, you are not playing fantasy hockey. You are a manager, generally. So people, relationships, scouts, it's a big job. And so someone with some experience, to me, in a role like that for a team like Columbus, who can't, take a flyer. They need to have success soon. Some established name would make more sense.
But make no mistake, this is a coveted role, right? There's certain roles,
GM.
like even when Kyle Dubas left Toronto and he went to Pittsburgh, I sort of said, wow, he's walking into a tough situation, and I didn't know it was going to be as tough as it is. Like, yes, Sidney Crosby, yes, Malkin's there, but you look where they are in the salary cap, you look at the age and sort of the scope of where those players, the trajectory they're on in their career, and you go, wow, you're not walking into Columbus where you sit there and you have 5 or 6 blue chip up and coming prospects, right? Like you look at some of the young players on that team, the Ken Johnsons, obviously the Adam Fantillis, David Yurchek on defense. They have some guys that, 31 other GMs would be calling up and saying, I'd love to have this guy on my team as a foundational piece under control for the next 6, 7, 8 years. That's a pretty good problem to have if you're going to walk into that situation.
Yeah, they had no success. They have good young players. They have 21 of their next 21 draft picks. So
they have another top 5 pick this year.
Yeah.
We are in studio with David Amber, studio host of the NHL on Sportsnet. Not bad, eh?
You got to. It's like the first time Kyper introduced me to the show, it's like he'd never met me before. It's like, we used to work together all those
Amber
days.
David.
Yeah.
Buddy, you're the professional host, not me. I'm looking to, and I'm thinking to myself, David, did I do good? Did I do good,
you nailed
David?
it. You nailed it, brother.
Okay, let's go down the path of the Pittsburgh Penguins because they lost last night to the Florida Panthers. What are they, 3 out of the last 10 they've won? They're slipping here.
And Gensel got hurt.
Oh,
Gensel got hurt.
Which is their big piece to trade.
Matthew Tkachuk was an animal last night. Like he.
do we have that Tkachuk?
Did you hear him post game?
Yeah,
yeah.
That is
good.
Fantastic.
Good host instincts, David, because I think we have
We do.
Matthew Tkachuk last night.
Ooh, let's see if we can play Matthew Tkachuk clip 1.
I think Derek Brandeo went to the bathroom.
Sammy left, and he's like, no one's calling for
We got
clips.
no producer.
I saw Sammy outside.
We got no Derek Brandeo right now. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what he said. He said, we're just going to, our line is with Sam Bennett. We're going to go out there and
Nick Cousins.
And Nick Cousins. And we're going to play the first 10 minutes like there's no puck.
We're just going to hit. We're just going to wear them down. We're just going to hit as much as we can.
No puck on the ice, just running into guys for 10 minutes. I said, Kip, you've ruined me. Because after 3 years of working with Kip, I heard that and I was like, yes, kill him.
But I mean, it worked to perfection against an older team. And it's not that they intimidated them, I don't think. I mean, I'm not going to pretend I watched the game. But there was only 7 shots on goal, period, for both teams in the first period.
Wild.
Right? Like, they were there, and as Kip was saying, they were playing like there wasn't a puck. Wear these guys down, get them kind of looking over both shoulders as they're retreating. And we all saw last year against Toronto how Florida forechecks. They forecheck with a certain level of tenacity that is pretty much unparalleled in the league.
I don't. Yeah, right. Like 32 teams in the league. Give me another team that plays like Florida Panthers right now.
Florida, by the way, now 2 points behind Boston.
That actually could be good for Toronto if Toronto slips into that 3rd spot, by the way. I think
rather play
Toronto,
Boston.
It sounds crazy to pick your poison, and Toronto right now is in a wild card, but I do think Toronto might prefer a matchup against Boston than Florida. I really honestly
Outside
believe
the
nobody
goaltending?
wants to see Florida.
No, Florida is probably the best team in the league. Is that a wild statement?
Yeah, no,
I don't know
not.
about that.
It's not.
Actually, I had a text exchange with some people in hockey, and I said, can anyone see Florida winning the cup? And a couple of guys right away hit yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, they're
not there for you, huh?
They're tough. They got attitude and they got swagger.
I do worry about Bobrovsky, though.
Well, Wade was the best player in the playoffs last year.
He was, but there's 8 years before that where he wasn't. So it's like, which one?
He's been good this year, though.
He has.
So
he's been the best version of himself.
Was it Sammy McKee that was reading off some Pittsburgh Penguin stats, including like he gave me like 3 or 4 categories, which led to one thing. They're really soft.
Yeah.
The Pittsburgh Penguins.
Well, yeah, and
That's a Kyle Dubas team.
I mean, I've called them the gold Leafs, the yellow or gold Leafs, whatever their colors are. They're very similar to the teams he built here.
I just wonder, and I understand it on a certain level, getting Karlsson. I get it. But I think there were so many people just sort of saying, are you going to get last year's version of Karlsson? How many meaningful games out of 82 did the San Jose Sharks play last year? And that's not to knock the skill of Karlsson, right?
Yeah.
But essentially, he was playing river pond hockey, or however you want to put it. The same way with Ovechkin chasing Gretzky right now in Washington is becoming less and less relevant with every loss. He can just go out there with the freedom of, I'm just going to try and score goals.
Yeah.
And when Karlsson's having to play in a structure in a different system, and then there's the whole power play, the power play thing's been just baffling, right? And you took Letang, you took the incumbent guy off a great power play, you put Karlsson in, and it just hasn't translated. I wonder if they're just going to rue the day they went out there and signed the most expensive defenseman in the league.
What is Sid going to do on a team that if this team misses the playoffs this year, then you know it's going to follow in the next year and the one after that?
What are you suggesting?
They're only getting worse.
What are you suggesting?
I am suggesting that Sid may want to reconsider his options, and one of them may be leaving. Or is he your guy that says, I'm going in and I'm going out like Mario? One uniform.
I mean, I think that this is what he wants to do, and I think he has every desire to see the Penguins just improve around him so he doesn't have to make this decision. But one of the things that we think of with Sid is competitiveness, right? Like just this desire to win, and we see it in the way he plays. I find it hard to believe he's going to work through a rebuild and help turn it around on his way out the door.
I think what could save Sidney Crosby finishing his career as a Pittsburgh Penguin are two things. One, he has 3 Stanley Cups, and it doesn't diminish his desire to have a 4th Stanley Cup.
No, but
Two,
it does.
We're about to have the 4 Nations face-off followed by the Olympics. He's going to get that ability to be, he'll be the captain of Team Canada. I can't see how he wouldn't be for this 4 Nations.
Somebody
face-off.
named Connor?
No. It's
Well, yeah, okay, if you want. Okay.
Sid's on the team, it's Sid.
You know, that's a great debate. I mean,
I'm not disagreeing with you, but Sid is the type of guy that says, I'm giving it to Connor.
If
okay.
that you very well could be right, and there's no wrong answer here. Listen, if you get 87 or 97, I'm happy either way. But having said that, you know, it's not like Sid is a marginal player playing up the string here. I mean, he's still an elite player. I mean, he's still an all-star caliber player, and I don't. That's a great debate. But bottom line is, those things I think will get his competitive juices flowing. That is an interesting debate. Actually, it would be the captain, Connor or Sid. Pretty good options to have. But I think those two things will keep him in Pittsburgh. I really do.
Is he your MVP right now, Connor? Nate? The Nate dog? They're running neck and neck, are they?
Probably Nate. I mean, we can't forget Kucherov either. Kucherov is leading their team by.
But he didn't try in the All-Star game.
Listen, it would not be a popular pick.
No one's voting for him.
It would not be a
doesn't
popular
have
pick.
a chance of getting the votes.
No, he's not. You're right. You're right. But I mean, when you just look at the whole resume this year, you know, if we took the names off the nameplate and say here are the lines, you might say I'll take that guy who's leading the league, who's 36 points more than the next guy on his team. But you're right. To me, McKinnon's right there. But McDavid, if I had to put money down, and Bourne, you might know the lines, I think McDavid's going to win the Art Ross.
You do, eh? Yes, he's 10 points up on McDavid right now with about 30 to go.
Well, how many?
28
He has some games in hand though, McDavid as well, doesn't he?
Well, he hasn't played as many, so his points per game, he's at 164. He is ahead of McKinnon points per game.
Yeah, so I could see him winning another Art. If he wins an Art Ross and the Oilers get to second in their division, it's going to be hard to. The whole narrative, they were in last place, and here's McDavid to save the day. Like, he's the best player. No one's disputing that, and I think he'd probably be, in a way, the most valuable player if, you know, he continues on this stretch.
I want to cannibalize our last segment with DA because I can't not talk Phil Kessel. We've come this far. We have to have this conversation.
I had him on the list.
You
Don't
did
worry.
with DA? Okay, good.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw any clips of him down in Abbotsford. He's on the ice.
Did it not look good?
Well, he's just tired.
Buddy, if you came to my skate this morning,
you still skate Thursday. I got to come out to one of your skates. Okay,
more than welcome. You'll be faster than me. I can guarantee you. But he looked like someone more out of my skate this morning
suck and win.
than he did an NHL player.
Now,
but it's
I do
only
want to
day
push
one.
back. I do want to push back on this because if a very fit player had not been playing for 10 months professionally or whatever, it's been 6-7 months, and then went to their first pro practice, they're going to be hands on knees at times. Like they're trying to get their wind up. They're going to look tired. But of course, we get the odd clips, and he's built like the way he's built, and he's exhausted. He's head down on the bench.
And it's 10 months. He played, I believe, the first 3 playoff games and sat all through May and June. Like it's been 10 months.
So it's understandable for him to be gassed, but he's pretty gassed.
This is nothing but a rolling the dice crapshoot for the Vancouver Canucks.
What's the risk, though?
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. It's just like, but there's no downside to this.
He doesn't cost you a different player or a spot for someone, or
No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
At his very best, if everything goes great and he looks half decent, he's their 13th or 14th forward going into what hopefully is a long playoffs, meaning you're not getting in unless we lose 2 or 3 guys. Let's say Garland goes down or, Brock goes down. Is he your best alternative to slide in for a game or two in the playoffs? I don't know. Maybe.
Kessel as late career Patrick Maroon would delight me. He gets his 4th cup with the Vancouver Canucks. Like, this guy's resume would be unbelievable.
Guys love playing with him, so there's not a chemistry issue.
No.
Rutherford and Tocchet
he's
like
beloved.
him and respect him.
You're going to have a million laughs with this guy in the room.
But he's also the guy that, like, okay, you put him in for 8 minutes one night and he gets a touch in the right spot. He can shoot one in for you. Like, not many 13th, 14th guys can shoot one in for you. And he can.
Quick segue. Seeing Kyper do the roll the dice motion brought me back to Vegas a few years ago. This guy was on fire. He couldn't lose. First time playing craps, he rolled for like 54 minutes.
Yeah,
if we weren't
54
betting
minutes.
like such losers, we could have.
Yeah,
we
we
could have
should-
retired.
We should have retired that night.
Yeah.
People around us were, hey, great, you just made me 20
okay.
grand. Kyper's like, great, I
30
made
grand.
$200.
$19, yeah.
Looking at my lousy pile going, I don't know this game that well.
That was a good night, though.
That was a good night.
So the other Canadian teams that are in the mix, I know you'll have a watchful eye on the Canadian teams. You're my Canadian correspondent.
Okay.
And every year it's how many of these guys can legitimately have a shot at winning the cup. The Jets still in there. Like, how many teams do you have with a legit shot here?
Well, the three atop the West. I mean, we just did the odds board. I'm not sure who's sponsoring your show. So
Thanks to Bet365.
Okay, good. Yeah, so Bet365 did our Stanley Cup odds, and Edmonton Oilers were the top odds at plus 800. Vancouver was second odds at plus 850. Vegas knows what they're doing, right? They're not trying to lose money without making this a gambling segment. To say that Winnipeg, Edmonton, or Vancouver aren't legitimate cup contenders, I still want to put the Leafs in that group. They haven't shown us, and we were going to do a bunch of Leaf games coming up, our regional show with us three and Elliott, which I'm looking forward to. We have a couple of games next week. They haven't looked the part of Stanley Cup contender, but I still am going to stick by what I've said for 2 months now. Let's see what they are on March 9th. And I'm not sure they're going to be anything different.
Yeah.
But let's see what they are.
Every day that passes by, like, I'm not a betting guy, but if I was, that first rounder is good as gone.
The Leafs first.
Yes.
So you think they're going to do something?
Not a chance they're not.
Okay. So
How's that?
It's pretty darn good.
So that you are a betting guy then. So,
Yeah.
you're putting that out there. And if that's the case, if they go out and they try and hit the jackpot, whatever the jackpot looks like, whether it's Tanev, Markstrom, whomever, I don't know who they're coveting. I'm not
They
an
need
insider.
something.
But if they go and they add two defensemen, they add two defensemen and a forward, they add a defenseman, a forward, and a goalie.
Yeah.
We're going to look at them as maybe part of that group.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm kind of say they're on the cusp. There's about 8 or 9 teams I would take ahead of Toronto. But those 3 teams in the West, especially the ones that have Demko and Hellebuck,
Doing nothing is not an option for the Toronto Maple Leafs or any of the playoff game or any of the playoff teams right across the country. I'm telling you right now, there's bidding wars going on right now. And that includes every team in a playoff scenario, including Vancouver still knocking on the doors.
who would you guys say is the most coveted free agent? Not free agent, sorry.
Trade
Asset out there. Like, it's so, I guess it depends on your team.
Well, you had
obviously.
some among forwards in your article today. You had Lawton.
Lawton.
Pretty good.
I had
Boone Jenner.
You think they're going to trade their
and,
captain? Who's to trade
yeah.
him? They don't have a GM right now.
Davidson's doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of.
Listen, at the end of the day, he knows what the parameters are. They're first round picks,
Yeah.
right?
Boone Jenner, how? That would be.
Well,
I didn't
it's a
even
great
think-
fit for the Leafs. If you're, I mean, I guess any team looking for a.
Yeah.
30-year-old center
And
with
these are the
places to
same
grit.
teams like the Rangers in Colorado that missed out, that put bids in for Monahan.
Mm-hmm.
Winnipeg ends up with Monahan, but now they're going back to the well here. We see Scott Laughlin tonight here.
Lawton. Yep.
Lawton versus the Leafs. Some people are saying he's not a first pick. Like, at the best, he's 3.5, 4 on
Really?
the depth chart.
I like Nick Steeler, but Elliott keeps saying that they're going to maybe trying to re-sign Steeler. He's a tough
I just told them.
Okay, Kip goes, check where he is in block shots. First in the NHL.
Sealer is.
Yeah, 155
Oh,
ahead.
that I didn't know, but I've seen him in some fights.
Just ahead
Not
of
that there's a lot of
Tanev
fighting, but
and
he's
Trouba.
he plays. He's 10 at best.
He's a first rounder all day
Crazy,
long.
he's 5'11".
To me, on a
plays.
championship team, he could slide in second pair defenseman.
You know, I'm curious to see for the Leafs, like, you know, you talk about spending that first rounder. Can they find something over the next month or 3 weeks from their third line? You know, Domi and Bertuzzi started to have a little bit last game. Because look at the other Canadian teams. The Canucks have Bluger, Garland, Joshua as a third
They
line.
call it the lifeline. Those guys have been tremendous, or at least I'm calling it the lifeline. I
Yeah.
saw it online. I was like, I like that. Lifeline.
Yeah.
Those guys have been
See,
fantastic.
to me, that's a championship caliber kind of third line.
Mhm.
You want to talk about Domi and Robertson now going to a conference final or a Stanley Cup final as a third line? I'm not buying it.
Third line on the Jets, Niederreiter, Lowry, Appleton.
Yeah.
That to
But
me
if
is the
Boone-
best third line in
Right.
hockey.
But if Boone Jenner's in the mix, it totally changes how you feel about a third line.
No question.
You know? So, you know, we'll see what they do with that first, but they
I
definitely
love
need
that.
defensemen.
I haven't heard anyone talk about Boone Jenner.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I think he's the captain. I
Yeah.
looked at it differently. But if he's available,
He's
he
not
would
going to be a part of them when
highly
they're
coveted.
on the way up, right? He's 30 years old.
You know what? He's also an Ontario kid. Was just an all-star. Like
He also just greased Ridley Gregg, so everyone loves him here. That's, that would be great.
No, he'd
Do,
be a good fit.
do we expect Bedard to play tonight?
Yes, from what I'm hearing and reading, we have it on Sportsnet 360, I believe.
Is it important that he comes back and fills the net so the league can give him his Rookie of the Year Calder?
Still tied. This Brock Faber story is pretty nice, though. Brock Faber looks like the second coming of Ryan Suter, right? He's eating up all these minutes. I wonder if at the end of the day, Rob Blake and the guys in LA are going, what the hell did we just do? And I like Kevin Fiala, and I like the trade at the time. But this Faber kid, have you guys watched him?
Yeah,
He's
you
great.
never give up a top tier defenseman for a winger. You just don't.
Well, and it's just that you can get burned so badly. Like the next decade, this guy's going to be a number one, number two guy. And
they knew the pedigree was there. He played for the World Juniors. He went to the Olympics. He was a second round draft pick, but the fit's been perfect, and they've just given him more, and he's succeeded every time. So Faber's going to be in the discussion. But think about it. You talked about the voting when it came to Kucherov. The average voter for awards, they're going, oh my God, Bedard, the savior of the league, and the goals, and this, or Brock Faber. It's not sexy, right? He's deserving, but it's just not sexy. He's going to have to really do something. He's going to have to beat Bedard in points probably to be even in that conversation.
yeah, I think that's reasonable. And last team for me, while we're kind of going around Canada, Ottawa kind of on a bit of a tear. Won 4 in a row.
Where have we seen this before?
Perfect timing.
Won 4 in a row, 7-1-2 in their last 10. Their numbers, their analytics, the last 10 games compared to the first 13 under Martin are way better. Yeah. Do we believe it? Is it real, or is the second half getting backup goalies? Everyone's playing no pressure.
No, I think they deserve these wins. I do. I think they're playing more like the team we anticipate. I don't know about you guys. I'm not going to sit here and pretend anything. We talked about Detroit, Buffalo, and Ottawa as 3 possible teams.
For sure.
And you know what I said? I said I like Ottawa the most. I like Buffalo second most. I like Detroit third most. And it's the exact flip of those. So
we've often debated on what sells the game and how do we drive more awareness to this great NHL game. Where were you on Ridley Gregg?
Oh, no.
On selling.
You almost got out of here.
On what he did and the interest it created, selling the game, good or bad?
I don't even know if I looked at it as selling the game. I had no problem with
the attention that it had.
Yes,
was that good enough?
This is how I look at it. I had no problem with what he did, and he had to fully expect a response.
Yeah,
right?
I think it's a great
to do
take.
that and then to just sort of skate and
it's fine. Just expect people are going to like it.
Listen, we can all relive the situation. I know, and I saw you guys had some great clips on it and great dialogue on it. I'm glad there was a response. Luke Gastick, who I did the show with on Monday, said he thinks that'll be the galvanizing thing that'll maybe draw this team together. And you were kind of alluding to that too.
Because we're dumb. As Torts told us, we're just dumb.
But it was a big response.
It was a big moment. It's a moment. Yeah. They haven't had a ton of moments.
No. The Battle of Ontario in the last 10 years or 15 has not had a lot of moments.
We sat on the set earlier this year after Marchand took
Liljegren
into the thing, and Nick was apoplectic, losing his mind. There was no response, and understandably so. And you heard Sheldon Keefe say the lack of response was embarrassing or whatever the words he used. And this was a real response. Was it over the top? Yes. Some people don't think it is. I go, yeah, you don't stick a guy in the face like that. But I'm glad there was something, and it needed to be something. But I don't have a problem with Ridley Gregg as long as you know there's going to be
he made no apologies
you're poking
for
the
it.
bear.
And yeah.
What's on tap tonight, DA?
It's a busy night. In fact, I better get to my show meeting. We got a 6:30 show.
Oh, geez.
Luke Gazdic, Sam Cosentino. We're setting up tonight, and tonight we have 8 o'clock. Oh my gosh, I should know which game. But well, we have the Oilers, the Flames, and the Canucks. I'm not sure which one's 8, which one's 9, and the Vancouver's 10. But they're all on Sportsnet 1, Sportsnet proper, I think, Sportsnet West. Check your local listings, check Sportsnet Plus. But it's a busy night. 12 games in the league. Every Canadian team except Winnipeg?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, every Canadian team except the Jets tonight. So it's busy.
And you obviously need to get to makeup pretty badly.
Yeah, it's not even fair to the public. I hope people are listening on the radio.
We love having you.
Shine is legit here.
Is it true you hate winter because it forces you to wear long-sleeved shirts to hide your guns?
Oh my God,
guns!
He can just break out of those shirts if he wants to by flexing.
We used to do the board of governors down in Florida, and we'd be by the pool, and we'd barely be from the airport. This guy can't take his shirt off fast enough.
Oh Lord,
This is security. Boots and shirts off. Boots and shirts. They're like, just boots, sir. He's like, oh, okay.
This is a misrepresentation.
Elliot and I look at each other going, I'm just going to go to the room.
Elliot was in the mankini, the Borat
The
suit.
Borat special, yeah.
Pleasant.
All right,
no, it'll be fun. Thanks. Listen, it was a good chat. It was fun. Anytime I can swing back.
Oh, you
We
bet.
appreciate you coming on, man.
All right, guys.
David Amber. I'm enamored.
David Amber.
I'm enamored with David Amber.
There you go.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll find Sammy. We'll find Derek Brandeo. We will find Matthew Tkachuk's clip. More Real Kyper and Bourne after these words. 11 games on tap. 5 Canadian clubs in action tonight. Sammy, you got a little game time action for us?
I missed you guys. That was fun with DA.
We found you. We found Derek Brandeo. We found our Matthew Tkachuk clip.
Hold on. Let me get this out of the way first. On Tuesday, February 20th, Scotiabank Arena will celebrate its 25th anniversary. It'll be opening its doors to the community by offering the opportunity to skate on the Leafs home ice and shoot around in the Raptors' private in-venue practice court. For this occasion, we are offering 2 passes to this limited time event. To enter, listen daily to the Real Kyper and Bourne for the code word, then text the code word to 590-590. Today's code word is hockey. Text hockey to 590-590 right now for your chance to win. Listen tomorrow for the last code word, and if you do not win with us, passes are available at Scotiabank Arena /25th anniversary. That code word today is hockey.
Damn, I forgot the code word. What was the code word?
I don't know how they come up with these. They're so hard.
If you went any more general, it would be like Earth. it's going to be on Earth. Yeah.
Air.
It's great. I love it.
And the second thing I have for you is it's game time.
Ooh.
Presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. Now, a pretty full slate as Kyper mentioned before. Florida Panthers last night, boys. I know you guys were talking about it a bit with DA. God, my daily fears of waking up and thinking about the Leafs playing that team in the playoffs.
They play a certain way.
They're going into Buffalo tonight. They are minus 160 favorites. I know the Buffalo Sabres are coming off their biggest win of the year. Have they played since they shellacked the Kings, whatever it was, 8-0 or 7-0?
Touchdown on the Kings, yeah.
Still love the Panthers going in that game. Minus 160, a team that just is
That's the type of game where don't love minus 60 doesn't pay me enough. I might do in regulation, which you can usually get it like around even.
Or
money.
minus a goal and a half plus 155 for them to win by 2.
Yeah.
I'm just quite sure that the Florida Panthers are going to win that game.
They're going to do a victory.
The next one I have, another really good game here tonight. The Colorado Avalanche and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Colorado is a slight underdog heading into Tampa. Tampa's been playing well recently, but anytime I can get the Nate dog as an underdog, I'm probably going to do that at plus 105. So give me the Colorado Avalanche in Tampa. And I just quickly want to look this up because, of course, as every team that comes into Toronto, it's their Stanley Cup Finals. It's the biggest game of the year for them. And more specifically for Morgan Frost, who comes home tonight. His father, Andy Frost, was the PA announcer forever for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Psychedelic Sundays. It's not his
Oh, yeah.
big show on
So
Q107.
I can tell you right now that he's going to be coming into this game pretty horned up, looking to score a goal. Give me a Morgan Frost goal tonight at plus 375 against the Toronto Maple Leafs. So those are my picks for this evening, fellas. Anything from you?
Just Tiger Woods.
Oh, Tiger Woods. He had an absolute shank.
Just a full hosel rocket.
I'm just looking. I think he's pretty close to the bottom of the leaderboard.
Yeah.
Plus one today. But it's like these new PGA Tour events. Like three guys get cut. Like there's barely any cut.
Yeah.
Like it's I think there's only 50 guys in the tourney. Like so it's very, very exclusive. But anyways, I don't have the odds in front of me. I can't get them at this moment.
right.
So well, go ahead.
Go on, finish.
Okay, that was Game Time, presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
So before Colorado beat Washington, they had lost 4 in a row.
Happens.
But you really like them still.
Colorado?
You don't look at them and say
I think
something's not right here.
They are way too dependent on a few guys because they know that they're flawed down the roster and they need additions.
You know what really hurt them? Nikushkin.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Losing him.
Forgot about him.
That one on top of Landeskog being out this long, Nikushkin took his game to another level.
Yeah, and
we
Johansson
wish him the
being a
best of
dog
luck.
doesn't
Of
help.
course, he's dealing with off-ice issues right now through the program at the NHLPA, and we wish him all the best of luck. But this is really put a damper on their top 9.
Yeah. They're bottom 6 right now. Like, I like Kiviranta, but they got Parisi on the third line, who they just pulled out of his basement somewhere, and, some guys that are not super effective. So I do think they're a little more flawed than they have been in years past, but I do think they're also aware of how good their best players are, and they'll be aggressive at the deadline.
Remember in Nashville, we were talking about Ryan Johansson?
Yeah.
Being a top player. Like,
It's over.
it's over.
Yeah. That ship has sailed. Old Matt Duchene, though, is lighting it up for the Dallas Stars, but Johansson not having the same success.
I look at so I just pulled up their cap friendly page. They have all the next 3 years first round picks. They have a 2026 second. They have thirds in the next 2 years, fourth in the next 2 years. They have a pretty solid amount of picks to be used here. I'm not sure of their prospect capital in terms of who they've got. That's really, enticing.
Mm-hmm.
But this is like the Sid Penguins when they were really good. This is all in every year.
Yes.
Like they are ahead of, obviously they're ahead of the Leafs, and that's in that factor. Like you're trading those first for impact guys, especially with Nikushkin's money not on the books and that kind of thing.
But you would expect Nikushkin to be back this year, would you not? Like maybe he comes back at the end of it all. I mean, a lot of these guys take a couple months.
You just
You're
don't
right.
know.
You don't know.
No.
100%.
I don't know if it's something that you can count on one way or the other.
And Landeskog is no chance this season.
I don't know whether or not we're talking about this season or the rest of his career. Whatever he's trying to do, to me, is, I've been told, is a bit of a long shot.
Wow.
Yeah,
right?
That's honestly, that's heartbreaking.
That is.
Because he was such a stud. It's too bad.
Cale Makar, Gerard, Manson, Taves, Byram, like their D is really effective.
Yeah. To me, they are still a big-time threat.
Okay.
Get them in a short series with Nathan McKinnon, Rantanen, that top pair. I think they're a big threat still.
So Colorado, a big threat. We just talked about how Florida for you was like this nasty lookout.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have the Matthew Tkachuk clip?
We definitely have that clip.
This is what,
play
Matthew
that clip?
Tkachuk was saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think tonight in particular, the talk was first 10 minutes, there's no puck out there, and let's try to get as many hits as we can and try to wear their D out for the third period. And I mean, yeah, there was no puck out there. We didn't have it in the first, so I guess we were.
There's no shots in the first either.
I know exactly. There probably was no puck out there, but I think our line is a little bit different in the sense where we're pretty good forechecking and three guys that play physical and are tenacious and try to be on the puck and on the body. So I think especially come playoff time, starting the first few shifts of the game or first few shifts of a period, but especially at the start of games, trying to be probably overly physical and hoping that teams wear down by the end of the series.
The Panthers have.
He's awesome.
Yeah. He's a special.
He's not. What did he score last year? Over 100 points, 104, something ridiculous. But
I'll let you know
he's not
momentarily.
on that pace.
Yes,
close.
but
But
he had 109 last year.
109.
Sorry, that was
In Calgary?
109 in Florida.
Yeah,
104,
109.
then 109.
Okay, that's like ridiculous numbers for a guy that can still go out there and
123
off.
PIMs still.
right.
Yeah, 123 pins.
So he's going to end up with what, 80, 90 points?
Yeah, he's well over point per game. Almost 60 points in 53 games.
But just like beat you every which way. And last night, I think he had four points.
It's common.
He made some great passes last night. Where are you with Florida's defense? Because someone mentioned the name Aaron Ekblad to me the other day.
What, is a tradable player?
No,
I love Ekblad.
You do?
I do. I didn't used to. I do now.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. He scored a nice goal last night.
I've come around.
But, two names that the other one, right? Everybody wants right-handed. Ekblad's a right-handed. Parayko's name is out there being floated a little bit more and more. I think he's got like 3 years, possibly 4 left at 6'5". That might be a tough one for the Leafs.
Yeah.
But Eric Ekblad, not that he's necessarily a guy that could get moved at the trade deadline. First of all, he has a complete no move. He's coming off an amazing contract.
Yeah, he's been making 7.5.
He's been making 7.5 for a while
As
here.
a top pair, right shot, heavy D who gets points.
So he's got a no move clause. So it's not like there's a threat that he's going to get traded. But in the summer, July, he loses the no move, and then it goes to 12 teams that he can protect from being traded.
What are you
to.
saying here?
I'm saying that Florida's in a situation now where they're not sure if they want to re-sign him. He's still at a very young age.
28.
He's eligible to be signed July 1st. Would he be looking for a raise off of the 7.5? Would you sign him at 7.5? Would you?
Yeah, we're talking that number for Hannafin.
They've also got Brandon Montour, who's going to be a UFA this summer, and Forsling is a UFA. So where's Florida going to put their money moving forward? They're going to go back to Eric Ekblad, or are they going to now focus on signing Montour, who's going to be 30 maybe on a 4 or 5 year deal?
Sam Reinhart's deal is up too this summer, right?
So they've got a lot of decisions to make, and that Forsling's come out of nowhere, guys.
I think he plays the top 10 time on ice per game. I haven't checked in a long time.
He's turned into
but
a hell
plays
of a defenseman.
It'd be a real shame if they just crumbled.
Be a real shame. So my point is, do you want to go back and revisit Ekblad moving forward, or do you say goodbye to him and focus on, I don't know, keeping Montour or Forsling and Reinhardt for that matter?
Yeah.
What would you do?
Well, Ekblad to me is the top guy of the guys you're talking about there. Like Montour, his numbers are down quite a bit from last year. 70 some points last year, like
unbelievable,
just absurd numbers. Forsling, he's a nice story to me, but he's not as impactful. He's a great neutral zone gap defender, tight gaps, tough to play, and all that. But my only concern with Ekblad is he just rarely gets through a season healthy. You know, he's hurt a lot. And so you give a guy 7-8 years into his 30s who's already hurt a lot in his 20s.
Just to go back to Colton Parayko, he has 6 more seasons after this one at 6.5.
Oh my god!
Oh my gosh! What did I say? 3 or 4?
Yeah, it's 6 more at 6.5.
And what's his age?
Till 29-30, he is under contract. He is 30. Yeah.
Yeah. You think the Leafs should go after him?
No. Well, yes, I do.
Okay, I like it.
Well, I just look at the way they're built and what they have. He's a right shot.
He's a right shot.
Big body,
6'6".
right shot. Was he on the cup winning team?
was.
He
Oh, yeah.
was. Like,
He was. And he's
just
not
a
that
steadying
old.
presence. No. He's
29.
Yeah, and he's
But there
generally
is-
healthy.
There's some wear and tear there.
Is he missed
Yes.
games? Yeah.
So
There's some wear and tear. I think back issues he's had in the
Is
past.
it Becky Adamy?
And just one more trade sort of note that the Penguins announced that Gensel is expected to miss up to 4 weeks due to injury.
Oh.
Yeah.
4 weeks. That takes you to like March.
Yeah,
9th.
that won't have that
He'll get healthy.
won't play a factor if, in fact, Kyle Dubas would want to trade him.
I think it's
2, 3 weeks.
Pretty
is
abundantly
March
clear
7th.
here that they should be heading in that direction.
Well,
Like I know it's a tough conversation to
they
have
were
with Sid.
not supposed to miss the playoffs this year.
Yeah, making that. I mean,
Missed by 1 point last year after they lost to Chicago and Columbus in the
Yeah.
last 2 games of the year. Do you remember
And
that?
if that didn't happen,
Florida doesn't get in.
Yep.
And then the Leafs win the Stanley Cup.
right?
What was your stats? Didn't you give me stats on Kyle Dubas's Penguins
Oh,
being like,
Yeah, they're
near the bottom of major categories?
well, they're all the
penalty minutes.
yeah, they're
or
the
what?
least penalized team in the league.
Oh, least.
They're the least penalized team in the league. They hit the least. They do everything the least. That's like me. So
You know, I think it's an underrated story that I think
Everything's great.
their coach likes to play a certain way too. It's not just
Yeah.
Dubas. Like he's been there this whole time. They've never been a force physically. I think this is kind of Sullivan's way. They still create a lot. They're third in the NHL in expected goals for, which is very Dubasy. They're all the same.
I'll say it. That Carlson trade's a disaster.
It was from the start.
And he
Disaster.
wanted he knocked on the door.
He
One of
wanted
the
it here.
things, he wanted him in Toronto, and
Oh my God!
I don't think he got much support. And that's
I think we booed you out of the studio when you suggested it
I think
last
there
year.
was a number of reasons why Kyle left. Very long list. That one probably was right there.
What, that he wasn't able to bring him here when he wanted to?
That's right. Yeah.
Well, whoever dug in on that, if that's Brendan,
Good on you, bud.
way to go, pal. You nailed that
Way
one.
to go.
How about the Penguins' power play? Like,
Wretched.
you can't score with all those stars.
I hate to draw a line, but I've watched the Penguins a lot this year, and it's Carlson trying to hammer it from the point, and it's over to Gino from the half boards a lot.
The Gino slapper from the half board
It
skills.
just happens
No deception.
so much.
Just here it comes again.
Did you guys catch this story I caught it from the corner of my eye about a lawsuit, junior hockey violating an
Yeah, I did.
antitrust law?
Yes, I read that article this morning.
What do you think?
I think that the NIL rules in college and how those players are finding ways to get money now has changed how people are looking at the exploitation of other players. And these junior hockey players, I mean, it's not fair,
It'll
but the
just
leagues will crumble if they have to pay them.
Yeah.
They can't. I mean, these leagues are
They can't-
operating on no margin.
They can't pay them, but can they find other ways to put money in their pockets?
Well, that's probably what it is. It's like Dave's auto, tire changing service gives the
and
guy.
you know Dave's just rolling in it in North Bay, Ontario,
Well,
right?
if he's got enough to keep a good center on his team, he might pony up, right? Buy season tickets, chip in a little more. We'll get to keep the good players.
A lot of these guys are still making the same $20 I made in 1983.
$250 per month is the most you
Wow.
can make as a junior hockey player.
Well, if you just look at the state of college football, it's great. Now that they've got NIL, they've really crushed it. So it's completely sarcastic. It's horrible. They turn it into pro.
Yeah, it's just
like,
10
well,
teams with the
you know,
good
like,
players.
They're given room and board. They play at in the number one development league in the world, in the CHL. They have all the scouts' eyes on them. If you're good in that league, you're going to make it higher. You're going to go to the next thing. It's like, you want to get rid of that? Fine. It's like, it goes to what Torts was talking about earlier. It's like, you want to change it all?
But on
you
the
want
other
all
hand,
these guys to come in as superstars getting paid all this money?
these guys work
It's a dumb
hard,
league.
and some owner sells tickets on the backs of their work and makes that money.
At least they don't have to do it behind anyone's back now. That's all.
Yeah,
And they
right.
were always doing it.
Right. No, you're right. And there's all these like committees now that like pool their money to keep offensive linemen. Like it's a different world now.
How do you think, by the way, Kessel's tryout with the Abbotsford, how'd it look there to start?
Look good. Look fresh. Dynamic.
He needs a few down and backs. He's got to get the Wallies going.
Yeah. All right, Evergill, down and back. Down and back.
Yeah, boys.
Our
Name of a book
thanks.
I've heard of.
Well,
Our
I've done a
thanks
few.
to Daniel Brière, general manager of the Philadelphia Flyers, and the host of NHL Hockey on Sportsnet, of course, David Amber. 11 games on tap. Pick yours. And then join us again tomorrow when we do it all over again on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Have a great night, everybody.